You might as well make this a drinking game, because I'm going to say the number 2 a whole lot. So welcome back to 1212. As promised in a previous video's comments, this is a Inspire 2 long-term review. I've had the Inspire for quite a while now. I bought mine not too much longer after it first came out. The internet tells me that this was now released in 2016, 2017. I should pay attention to what the internet tries to tell me. Needless to say, this is an aged beast at this point. Drones normally don't make it as long as this one has. The Inspire 2, I'm going to say it, is the best overall drone platform in existence. Yeah, that's a lot of hyperbole. But let me back that up. The Inspire 2 isn't the best. It doesn't deliver the best image quality. There are drone systems that have a better camera. There are drones that have a longer flight time. There are drones that cost less money. But I'm going to say overall bang for the buck, this is it. I would say that this is the pinnacle of the camera drone as we know it right now. The predecessor to this, I had the Inspire 1. It first came out with a small chip camera, which fit all inside of a golf ball sized camera. It shot 8-bit 4K that made a GoPro look good. But it was in a drone that was fast, that could fly in high winds, and had a better overall image than any other integrated system that we had seen up till that point. And then they one-upped it by creating a Micro Four Thirds camera, the X5. Unfortunately, still plagued by being 8-bit, and you could see the poor processing because it was just way too compressed. Because that entire Micro Four Thirds camera fit onto a gimbal that hung off the nose. The Inspire 2 led off of that success, blew it out of the water by separating the parts of the camera sensor from the camera processor, the camera sensor being the only part that needs to be stabilized, while the rest of the camera's internals were moved up into the nose of the drone, which DJI calls the Cinecore. It was a great move, and I think how long this thing has run has proved that as fact. Additionally, a weak point of a drone is its power source. A single battery, if it's to have a failure, it's going to fall from the sky. The Inspire 2, on the other hand, has 2 batteries, and in case of the failure of one, it can run at limited power off of the other one to get you back onto the ground. Brilliant. I do believe this is DJI's first attempt at obstacle avoidance. Somebody fact check me on that. But it came with obstacle detection above, in the front, and below. Unfortunately, not in the back. A lot of people getting those big hero shots still flew into things. But overall, a great drone. Capable of shooting 4K, well, 5.2K RAW in a DNG sequence, and what I think a ProRes 4 4-aught. So beefy ProRes. You got your RAW, interchangeable lenses, obstacle avoidance, pilot cam, strong motors, redundant power system. It's I think still that like tops the list of features for a drone. So after 4 years, what is there to know about it? I mean, I just gave you the sales pitch that DJI has been pitching for these last 4 or 5 years. But what's it really all about? Well, this is a smooth and easy flying drone. I would say it's as easy to fly as any other DJI drone. The only thing that you need to take into consideration is the fact that it's larger, and that if you put yourself in a bad situation, the potential for this doing damage is much, much higher. This will go through a car's windshield. This will take out the pilot of an aircraft. These blades are strong enough and sharp enough to remove fingers. And if a blade hits you, you're going to need stitches wherever that hit occurs. So it is more dangerous, but still pretty simple to fly. Also has active track, which is huge. I've been an only child, so I do one-man operations all the time. I frequently use active track to lock onto a subject while I focus on the craft's movements and let active track the subject. Great drone. I am already going way too long talking about its perks. So I don't really have any huge criticisms, other than it is pricey. The price does kind of separate the hobbyists from the professionals, but it is still cheap enough that most professionals at this point already have one of these. So breaking into this market, kind of hard at this point. But for those who want to give it a go, let me offer some advice. If you're going to be in the business of flying a drone, you should buy whatever drone you can afford to buy 2 of. And let me explain that. If anything happens, you're going to need backup. As I learned when I was in the military, 2 is 1, 1 is none. And to take that apart a little bit, these are an assemblage of electronics put together by people. If there's a failure, this thing is going to fall out of the sky. If there's a significant failure, and then you're going to be out of work. Whoever your client was isn't going to get what they needed, and you're going to be out the money it costs to either replace or repair your drone. If you have a second drone and you have that same failure and a crash, you're going to pick up the pieces of the crashed drone, and then you're going to launch your next drone and finish the job. That means you're probably not going to lose that client. If anything, you're going to impress them in the fact that you're unstoppable. You're going to get paid, and then you're going to have that money to pay to repair your busted drone. So it's very important. You need to have 2 of the same drone, I would stress. And that's because of continuity. Continuity in your work is important. Even if you're not on a film set where they need that kind of continuity, clients love to be able to trust what they're going to get, especially when it comes to a creative professional. And being able to deliver and deliver consistently is huge. So, same drone, same camera, fairly similar lenses is important. So if one crashes, I can go back up in the air. The client is still getting exactly what they're looking for to be nearly identical, right? So to have that level of redundancy is huge. It really is what separates the hobbyists or amateurs from the professionals. If you're gonna be in the business of using one isn't enough. You need 2. Next up is another important little thing. And actually, little isn't the right word to use because that diminishes its importance and expense. You are not going to fly a drone without batteries. A drone pilot lives and dies based off of his amount of time that he can fly. Memory cards are relatively cheap. Batteries are not. And getting them charged up isn't something that you can typically do quickly. Enter the DJI battery station. I think these are sometimes hard to find, and they are not the cheapest things, but they are well worth the money, and let me explain why. This battery charger can charge 8 batteries simultaneously. Now that's impressive, but what's more impressive, and this is key, is that it can charge all 8 batteries simultaneously faster than the Inspire 2 can drain them. So that means that you can stay up in the air all day long flying contiguously, meaning you land, you change out the batteries, you're right back up in the air, you put those batteries back on the charger, and they're all going to be charged and ready to go, charged up faster than the drone can discharge them. It's huge. I don't know of another system that exists in the drone world like this. So huge. Aside from the charger, you're gonna need some batteries. The TB50s have become kind of an industry standard, and a lot of people are making adapter plates for these to power other things. Anything from cameras to sliders to other non-DJI gimbals can all be powered with these. So these are a fairly worthwhile investment that will extend past the life of the drone. Unfortunately, the drone does use a pair of batteries, so you need to buy them in pairs, and you're going to need at least, I would say, 8. They're about $160, $170, maybe $180 per battery. So this is going to add up pretty quick on top of the battery station, on top of the fact that you just bought 2 Inspire 2s. It's a pricey game. And lastly, if I can find it, oh, here we are, is the Cendence. The Cendence controller is in every way better than the stock controller that comes with the Inspire. That the first place that it greatly outdoes it is in the fact that you can change out the antennas and that you can use DJI's patch antenna. This is a patch style transmitter. It is directional and it can penetrate through leaves and the radio noise floor much better than the little rabbit ears. The rabbit ears are omnidirectional. This is directional. So that's huge. This is what makes me love this controller. This wheel, these buttons. Just like on the back of most DSLR cameras, there is a similar wheel and similar buttons that allow you to change the camera settings. That is a big deal for me so that I don't have to tap and drill through the menu. I can continue to just look at the screen, hands on the controller, making my adjustments without having to do all that. You can also change your expos, the exponent curves of your sticks using these. You can also customize all these buttons and change them to what best suits you. And then lastly, what makes this controller such a big deal is the interchangeable batteries. On the other controller, on the stock controller, or most other drones controllers, the battery is integrated. If the battery dies, you're gonna have to sit around and wait to charge that up, unless you have a backup controller that you can bind and get back up in the air. This, you buy several of these batteries, one's down, you go to your cart, you go to your case, you grab another one, slap it in, and you're back up in the air. Oh, the SDI. SDI is huge. This is how the pro video world gets around as far as sending a signal. HDMI is unreliable because it requires an electronic handshake between devices that runs through the cable, And if those devices don't make that handshake, the cable doesn't work, the signal doesn't get out. SDI is constantly sending out the signal, so no interruptions from there. Image quality from this could be better, but at least that is a pretty rock solid thing. I don't know what we're doing here. What's going on here? All right, we're just gonna do some fingers. A lot of finger pointing going on in the back. And that's it. Did I really just burn through that? Okay, let's bounce back real quick. If you got a Cendence controller, make sure that when you pack this up and you put it in your case, before you put the lid down, that you unplug that and tuck it in. This cable is soldered to the antenna. If you break this connector, there aren't really replacement parts. So it's going to be hard for you to find that part to replace it. It's going to require soldering. And the antenna is a couple $100. So don't do like I did and learn the hard way. Make sure that you unplug that. With that said, the unplugging. This thing does not ship well. It just doesn't move around well with things attached. These gimbal boards are prone to wear out. They pretty much just need to be replaced every year or so, every year and a half, depending on how much you're flying. And certainly do not keep your camera attached while transporting. Whether it be in your case, whether it be in the back seat of your car, it bouncing around like this will cause damage there, and you'll have to remove this whole nose cone to replace this and run these little tiny wires up here. It's a pain. Took me 3 hours. Don't do it. It takes too much time. It's a lot quicker just to take your camera off and put it in the case like it should be. These, probably the worst, second worst part of the whole Inspire system is how much these cost and how hard they are to find. This is only a 240 gig, and I think these things run like $500 with the 900 gig costing well over $1,000, and that's if you can find them. Dollar per gig. I think the only thing more expensive is Red Media. So those things, kind of a pain. But the very worst thing in the entire Inspire 2 system, from my experience, is the Crystal Sky. I had a Crystal Sky. It was okay, but it would crash. It didn't like the heat. It didn't like being cold. It clearly just didn't like being, I think, and wanted to die. DJI does not do a good job of building devices, smart devices. What makes it worse is that the Crystal Sky, the Crystal Sky is a one-trick pony. The only thing it's going to do is work with the Inspire system. That's it. That's all that does. My iPad Pro here, on the other hand, I'm using to control my Komodo and monitor my audio, and they're going to make Final Cut for it, so then I'll just start editing video on it. I can check my emails, right? I can get on Twitter. It does a lot of things. It costs about the same as Crystal Sky. The Crystal Sky's screen just isn't that bright to make it worth it. And then that brightness comes at an expense. It doesn't do well in direct sunlight. It'll just crash and overheat. It will dim the screen dimmer than an iPad will in the same amount of heat. An iPad won't dim. The Crystal Sky will dim and then become not as bright as the iPad. iPads are better. Find some other device. Crystal Sky is junk. I used mine for a couple months, then it sat on this bench, and then I didn't use it for a year, and then eventually sold it off. I'm happy to have gotten some money back out of that thing. So yeah, that's it. Whoa, we're looking at all kinds of 1212 stuff. This is actually pretty timely. Here is a bit that I did with ABC World News Tonight. The fires in Oregon. So we did a live broadcast. That kind of job would not be possible without the Cendence controller and that output right there. So Matt Gutman, sorry. That guy's awesome. I gave him that mask. That's my mask. And then we shot this. I got in trouble. I'm gonna out myself. So visibility is not far enough for me to have flown. So that was a pilot mistake. There should have been 3 miles of visibility, and there really wasn't. I kind of got my butt chewed for that. I honestly had just totally forgotten. But now I remember, and hopefully you do too. So there we go. That means we are way over time if all those videos are running. Hopefully this information helps to an old Inspire salt like me. This all seems to be common knowledge. You know, I just eat it and breathe it. Hopefully this helps out somebody that is newer to drones. Yeah. Hope this helped. Thanks for tuning in to 1212, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.